All right, everybody. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the channel. HTM here. Posting a video later than I usually do. That's because the update 5.3 just dropped on the PTS. Patch notes are up on the forums, so let's check it out. I've actually gone through it quickly already to see if it was worth doing a video. I think it is. I think this, generally speaking, is a very solid looking patch. I'm looking forward to it, so let's go ahead and jump right in and start breaking it down. So the patch is called HARROWSTORM. It is a dungeon DLC, kicking off the Skyrim, Dark Heart of Skyrim year-long chapter. And then quick note here on the download, this is important. They've basically redone the patching process, so you'll need to re-download the game starting with this release. But the file size is going to be lower. And important to note, you don't have to delete anything manually when you're doing this. The patcher will go ahead and delete those extra files for you. So I think that's cool. But since this is a new dungeon DLC, we of course have new item sets, which I wanted to take a look at right away. So we've got 8 new dungeon sets, 2 light, 2 medium, 2 heavy, and 2 monster sets. In addition, there's also Cyrodiil crafted sets. Yes, you heard that right. These are Cyrodiil crafted sets. Yeah, I don't know what I think about that yet. Crafting in Cyrodiil, that's definitely interesting. But let's start with the Ice Reach sets. This is one of the new HARROWSTORM dungeons. And we've got Hitties Hearth, a light armor set. We've got 2-piece Magicka Recovery, 3-piece Magicka Recovery, 4-piece Max Magicka, and for the 5-piece, when you heal yourself or an ally, you gain a warming aura for 10 seconds. While in the warming aura, you and your group mates restore about 1,000 health every second and reduce cost of sprint, block, and roll dodge by 5%. This can happen every 12 seconds, so it looks like it's up for 10 seconds, down for 2 seconds. I think this is a really cool healer set. I definitely want to try this out. What I'm curious about is the aura itself. Does this follow you around when you wear the set, or is it a ground effect? Next up, the medium armor set called Titanborn Strength. This gives you 2-piece physical pen, 3-piece weapon damage, 4-piece max stamina, and for the 5-piece adds 110 weapon damage and 1240 physical penetration. The bonus will double to 220 weapon damage and 2480 physical penetration when you're under 75% health. The bonus quadruples to 440 weapon damage and 4960 physical penetration when you're under 50% health. This is really, really interesting. This kind of goes back to one of the sets they did in the Dragonhold DLC where the bonus changed based on your health percentage. So it seems like this is a new thing that they like, that they're doing now with more sets. This is kind of weird. It seems weird to me that it's a medium armor set because medium armor builds aren't known for having a lot of health. And generally, if you go down that far on your health bar, I mean 50% health or less, you could die in like one hit. So in terms of PvE, I don't see how this would be that helpful. Generally, your healer won't let you get that low. Maybe for PvP as well, this could be possibly okay, but it seems like it's going to be difficult to get that bonus. Then we have Banished Torment, a heavy armor set. 2-piece adds healing taken, 3-piece adds max health, 4-piece max stamina. For the 5-piece, when you taunt a nearby enemy, you tether them for 5 seconds. While tethered, you apply Major Maim to your enemy. That reduces their damage done by 30%, and you gain Major Vitality, increasing your healing taken by 30%. So the tether is broken if an enemy moves 8 meters away from you, and the effect can occur once every 14 seconds. So this is a pretty interesting tank set. I mean, Major Maim is an incredibly strong debuff. You also get Major Vitality thrown in. So it seems strong, but there is a decent cooldown there, up for 5 seconds, down for 14 seconds. And then let's look at the monster set called Mother something, Sionet. This gives you max magicka for the 1-piece and the 2-piece. While in combat, casting an ability with a cast time or channeled ability grants you a damage shield that absorbs 3,000 damage for 10 seconds. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Really interesting. You know, for some of my solo builds, I use the Ice Heart set, and honestly, the Ice Heart set is much better at creating a damage shield for yourself. Ice Heart has more than 2 times the damage shield with a lower cooldown, and it can be procced by any class in the game. So honestly, this is just not good. This is not good at all. They either need to increase the damage shield, or maybe lower the cooldown, or maybe both. Yeah, because Ice Heart just blows this set out of the water. Now moving on to our other dungeon called Unhallowed Grave. Draugr Grip is the light armor set. You get 2-piece max magicka, 3-piece spell penetration, 4-piece magicka recovery. And for the 5-piece, dealing direct damage to an enemy has a 10% chance to place a ghostly curse on your enemy for 6 seconds. Cursed enemies take 530 extra damage from all your damage abilities, and the effect can occur once every 6 seconds. Okay. It doesn't seem like a very meta set. Might be strong on maybe some dot builds. Medium armor set, Aegis Collar. 2-piece weapon damage, 3-piece stamina recovery, 4-piece weapon damage again. For the 5-piece, when you deal critical damage with a melee ability, summon a Lesser Aegis for 12 seconds. After 2.5 seconds, the Lesser Aegis spins its blades, dealing 880 bleed damage every 1 second. This effect can occur every 10 seconds. So this sounds almost like it's summoning something on the ground, like a spinning blade. So it takes 2.5 seconds to create the spinning blade, and then it's going to last for 12 seconds total. I mean, that could be decent for PvE. I mean, if you have all the enemies stacked up on each other in a tight little group, that might do some decent AoE damage. Now, Grave Guardian is the heavy armor set. 2-piece max stamina, 3-piece max health, 4-piece max health again. And for the 5-piece, you summon a stone aura while blocking, hardening you and your nearby group members. No comment. Increasing your physical and spell resistance by 4430. Wow, that's really a very strong group buff. This is a really cool tank set, both for PvE and PvP. The only question is how large is the stone aura? You know, how close does your group need to be in order to get that buff? But that's a pretty cool buff. And then let's check out the monster set here. Kjalnor's Nightmare, 1-piece spell damage, 2-piece bonus. Dealing damage with a light attack puts a bone stack on your enemy for 5 seconds. You can apply 1 stack every 1 second, okay. At 5 stacks, an undodgeable skeleton hand attacks your enemy. After 1 second, knocking them into the air and stunning them for 3 seconds, or dealing 14,500 magic damage if they cannot be stunned. An enemy that reaches 5 stacks cannot gain bone stacks for 3 more seconds. Okay, wow. There's a lot to unpack there. So the description is a little bit confusing. I get that you need 5 stacks. Once you reach 5 stacks, summon the skeletal hand, takes 1 second to cast, knocks them into the air and stuns them, or deals 14,500 magic damage. So it sounds like it only deals the magic damage if they cannot be stunned. So basically if they're on CC cooldown. That's an interesting mechanic. I don't know that they've done something like that before. So if you're going to use this in PvP, for example, it seems like you need to stun them first if you want to get the damage to proc. So then Cyrodiil crafting, I had to laugh when I saw this. And let me know in the comments what you think of this. If you think crafting in the Cyrodiil towns is really appropriate, or what that might look like with, crafting gankers now. So critical riposte, located in Velasteris. So you get critical resistance. Okay, that's cool. 2-piece 424 critical resistance. What is that? That's like 2 pieces of in-pen? That's pretty interesting. 3-piece max health. 4-piece crit resistance again. Okay. And then the 5-piece bonus, when you take critical damage, you apply minor uncertainty and minor enervation to the enemy for 4 seconds. That reduces their physical and spell critical by 1314 and reduces their critical damage by 10%. So I don't know about the 5-piece. I mean, you're only going to take advantage if your enemy is heavily spec'd into crit. Then we have Unchained Aggressor, located in Bruma. We've got max stamina, stamina recovery, weapon damage, spell damage. That's interesting. After breaking free, gain Major Berserk for 9 seconds. That increases your damage done by 25%. It can occur once every 21 seconds. Wow, Major Berserk for 9 seconds. That's one of the highest Major Berserk buffs that I'm aware of in the game. I know there's like an item set that gives you 3 seconds. I think if you're a Nightblade, you can get it maybe for 5 seconds. But 9 seconds every time you break free, that's really interesting. And then we have Dauntless Combatant. This is in Cropsford. You get max stamina, max health, max magicka, max health again, and when you're affected by a disabling effect, You automatically break free for no cost. After using this effect, you become winded. You cannot re-trigger this effect for 21 seconds. Same cooldown as this other one too, by the way. I wonder if people are going to combine these together. You have a break free build possible now. Pretty cool. Automatic break free. Next up, item set changes. Quite a lot of changes here to the older sets. So Affliction got a bug fix. Archmage now properly triggers off resto heavy attacks. Ashen Grip got a buff, you guys, after 6 years. This set no longer forces you into an animation, but they also remove the proc chance and increase the damage on activate to 5350. Wow, interesting. Check that set out now. Roran's Thunder, they updated the tooltip, fixed an issue where it wouldn't work with some melee attacks, and they also decreased the damage per tick. Briarheart, this set no longer has a 1 second hidden cooldown on the heal, but the heal has been decreased. Increase the weapon damage bonus by 1. Okay, thank you. Increase the proc chance to 25%. That's good. That's going to help that set. The Claw set, fix an issue with the Trifocus passive. Clever Alchemist updated the in-client check for this. Okay. Increase the duration up to 20 seconds from 15. Very interesting. Also increased the spell damage and weapon damage slightly, up to 675. Curse Eater, fixed an issue where it wouldn't proc off ultimates or mend wounds. The set now has an 8-second cooldown per target rather than overall. Increased the Magicka Restore slightly there, and fixed an issue where it shared a cooldown with Stendarr's Embrace. Curse of Doilamesh, this set now properly works on feared targets. Reduce the cooldown to 4 seconds. Wow. But increase the damage, and increase the damage done slightly. Okay. Darlock Brave, fix an issue with this. Destructive Mage, the set's explosion can now be triggered by any heavy attack rather than only allies. Reduce the cooldown, decrease the damage done by the explosion. Dune Ripper Scale, fix an issue where the set would not activate while Shield Wall was active. Elfbane, fix an issue, increase the duration of the set to 5 seconds? Wow, 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 that's a huge buff. 5 seconds extra flame damage duration. Might have to look at Elfbane again. Engine Guardian fixed numerous issues with cooldowns. Okay. Essence Thief. This now procs off light and heavy attacks instead of only light attacks. Okay. Fixed an issue where it could proc off friendly targeted light attacks. Okay. Eternal Hunt fixed an issue where it was considered damage over time instead of direct damage. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. Galerian's Revenge. This now requires 5 stacks instead of 6. Increase the damage. Wow. That's like double damage on this guy. Add a 1 second cooldown to applying stacks. Okay, interesting. Ice Furnace. This set no longer requires direct damage with a proc chance, and they increase the damage. Okay. Ice Heart fixed an issue where this set was considered direct damage instead of damage over time. Wow. Okay, I didn't know that was the case, but that's a good fix if so. Fallible Mage fixed an issue where the set's damage amp was not properly applying to all heavy attacks. Okay. Note that the minor vulnerability now follows its tooltip and still requires a fully charged heavy attack. Okay. Infernal Guardian. This set now procs when you apply a damage shield ability on yourself or an ally. That's an interesting change. Updated the tooltip. Okay. Lucky's Focus. This set now grants major evasion rather than a unique buff. They remove the healing reduction. Okay. And they reduce the penalty to 15% down from 25%. Molagkina. Wow, so many changes, you guys, to old sets. Reduce the increased cost penalty to 8% down from 20%. Wow, that's a huge difference. Morkulden, this set now properly mentions its cooldown. Fix an issue where the light attack from the set would snare enemies. Remove the proc chance. Okay, that's good. I know this set was always very difficult to proc. Prisoner's Rags. Fix an issue where the set was not providing the correct amount of magicka while sprinting. Robes of the Hist. Fix an issue where this would fail to properly activate against snares under certain circumstances. Scathing Mage, this set no longer considers the first tick of each damage over time as direct damage. Okay, but also this set no longer requires critical strikes to proc. That's really good news. They reduce the duration and the cooldown to 5 seconds from 6 seconds. Okay, so better proc chance on Scathing Mage. This set might be viable again on some builds. Shadow of the Red Mountain updated the tooltip. Sheer Venom fixed an issue where the set would fail to proc from poison injection. Okay, we saw that earlier. Also increased the damage, very nice. Almost 10,000 damage. Storm Master fixed an issue where the set would fail to proc off overload. Increase the damage, fix an issue where the damage done was considered a projectile, okay. Harbinger set, this now deals damage based on 6% of your max health, rather than 4% of your current health, okay. Tormentor works with explosive charge. Scoria fix an issue where this could proc off other procs. Okay. Vestment fixed an issue triggering off siege weapons. Vicosa, this set now reduces the enemy's spell and weapon power instead of applying major maim. Increase the duration and reduce the cooldown. Okay. Way of Fire update the tooltip. Wild Impulse fix an issue. Wilder Queen's Arch fix an issue where the snare would stack with other snares. Wrath of Imperium fixed an issue where the set was not properly granting its bonus. Okay, quite a lot of changes there to item sets. And then one more absolutely huge change. If you play Battlegrounds, you can now only queue as a solo player for Battlegrounds. You cannot group queue anymore. And they also reset the MMR for all players. These are huge changes. This is a big change. With matchmaking, we're executing in response to player feedback and as an experiment. We recognize the change will prevent players from being able to team up with friends, but it should also improve both the speed of matchmaking and the competitiveness of PvP matches. So that's why they're resetting the MMR. Basically, everybody's starting over with a brand new rank, so that will be matched up better in solo queues. Wow. Yeah, that's an absolutely massive change. I know a lot of people will be happy with this. I know some people probably won't because you won't be able to queue up in groups anymore. Hopefully they'll bring back group queuing. I'm hoping maybe the end result is that we'll eventually have 2 separate queue systems. But for now, this seems to be the fix that they wanted. So I want to jump right into combat and gameplay. That's another thing that I focus on. Starting off with the Necromancer class. Due to many mechanical issues with Necromancers and corpses, targeting of corpses, the following changes have been made. Blastbone's corpse endomorphs will last 6 seconds instead of 5. Skeletal Mage and Spirit Mender corpses now last 10 seconds rather than 5. And they improve the targeting from all tether abilities. So it will now link to the corpse closest to your reticle for a much larger radius. All of these sound good. Let's check out the developer comment. So the goal of these changes is to help reduce situations where tethers do not grab a corpse, as well as making it easier for necromancers to feel in control of the amount of corpses on the field. Sounds good to me. Now we have an additional change to Blastbone, which I think is huge. The skeleton from this ability and its morphs will now attempt to leap from up to 28 meters after spawning in rather than 15 meters. I think this is a huge change because we all know the Blastbones would get confused. And I think that's because of the pathing mechanics and the walking and the running. So this almost sounds like they're taking out the running of the skeleton completely. And now it's pretty much just like a skeleton missile that's gonna like jump through the air. Once it spawns in, once it's done being, all the bones come together and whatever, it's gonna just jump straight to your target, which is, wow. I mean, it's cool. I think it's cool, first of all, but it's really powerful. Fix an issue where it would appear to jump backwards. It will now properly face its target rather than moonwalk jumping. Okay. And they increase the speed in which the skeleton jumps. So hopefully we just have a more accurate and a more dependable skill. I know this is something that Necros have been asking for, and it's something that the class really needs. So good on them if this turns out well. I'll definitely be testing it out. Boneyard, reduce the cost down to 3780 from almost 5,000 Magicka. Good news. Good news for sure. AoE costs need to come down, so that's good to see. Bitter Harvest and Dead in Pain fixed an issue where the major protection was not extending. If you had Yorvold's Guidance or other duration extending bonuses, interesting. Okay. Agony Totem fixed an issue where visual effects... Okay. Just a visual fix here. And then Living Death, Reanimate, fix an issue where it would not trigger events that required resurrections to proc. So just a fix on Living Death. Sounds good. I'm going to fast forward to the other class updates, and then I'll talk about some of the general changes last. So moving down to Dragon Knight's Ardent Flame, fix an issue with the first ticks. With the first 3 ticks of the ultimate, okay, so a little bug fix there. Dragon Leap. This ultimate will now properly animate its leap on targets, regardless of its range, resulting in more overall reaction time if you're getting dunked on. Okay, this is a good change, I think. Sometimes you just could not even see the leap at all if you're on the receiving end, so hopefully this improves that. Protective Scale, this ability now grants damage mitigation, 2 abilities more appropriately described in the tooltip. Okay. Earthen Heart Molten Weapons fixed an issue where Major Brutality wasn't applying to group members, so that's fixed now apparently. And Stone Fist got a major update. So they've updated this ability to improve visual storytelling and per cast impact. Stone Fist is now a 2-part ability instead of a instant mid-ranged attack. So they changed a lot here apparently. Activating will now stomp the earth, causing you to deal damage in an area around you. After a short cast time, generating 3 charges. Activating the ability again allows you to lob one of the earthen spheres around you to an enemy from up to 28 meters away. So this is a damaging ability now. And they've gotten rid of the stagger mechanic at base, but instead the final charge will stun the enemy. Okay, and then the Stone Giant Morph itself. This morph retains stagger in the form of causing targets to take additional damage. Increase the damage taken per stack to 65 up from 45. And it does look low, I mean on paper, but again, that's any damage, not just damage from you, but from anybody else. Now, under Nightblade, if you were hoping for a lot of Nightblade changes, you did not get them in this patch, unfortunately. All they did was fix an issue with Consuming Darkness and the synergy. Sorcerer Daedric Summoning, they did reduce the cost of Summon Unstable Familiar down to 3510 from 4500, so that is good. Storm Calling and Bolt Escape fixed an issue with the Absorption Field, so just a bug fix there. Lightning Splash did get the cost reduction as well, so that is good. Overload fix an issue where toggling this ability would dismount you. Okay, you know what I'm realizing, you guys, is all the class AoEs got a cost reduction, but I think they're missing some, like Nightblade, Refreshing Path. Maybe they didn't change that because of the heal component, but it'd be nice to see a cost reduction there. Also, Dragon Knight, there's no cost reduction on Ash Cloud, and Ash Cloud needed a cost reduction. It still costs like 6,000 magicka. So, hey Gil, if you're watching, maybe help us out with that on the next PTS. Adric's Spear Shards, this got a cost reduction, that's nice. Dawn's Wrath Nova, this now has a negative telegraph, so you can see the Nova actually coming down, that's good. And Restoring Light, Sacred Ground, this passive no longer snares enemies in the area. Instead, it increases your block mitigation. Wow, that's a huge change. Less snares from the Templar class. Green Balance, so up to the Wardens now. Living Vines fix an issue. You will now immediately snap to their direction and cast the ability, so that's good. Winter's Embrace, Glacial Presence, this is a passive. I think it was cold damage and magic damage. This passive now also increases your critical damage against enemies and critical healing against allies who have been recently afflicted with chilled. That's just weird, like especially the healing part. How often is your team afflicted with chilled, especially in PvE? Okay, whatever. So let's jump down to weapon skills here. Poison Arrow fix an issue with it canceling casted abilities. Okay, so bug fix. Another bug fix with Poison Injection. Oh, so I think this is really good. Fix an issue where the initial hit of this ability was not considered an execute by many proc conditions, such as Sheer Venom. Okay, this is awesome. I actually tried to do a bow PvP build with Sheer Venom and it didn't work because it wasn't considering the initial hit to be an execute, which it is. Okay, so I might have to revisit that. That's a good fix. Volley, they reduced the cost of Volley. That's good news. Destruction Staff, same thing here. They reduced the cost of Wall of Elements. Very good. Fix some visual effects with the morphs. That's fine. Blade Cloak got the cost reduction as well. Fix an issue on Twin Blade and Blunt. One-Handed Shield, Battlefield Mobility. This passive now more accurately describes what it does. Resto Staff, fix an issue with the Life Giver ultimate. So here's an interesting change to the ultimate here, Berserker Strike. They actually reduced the damage of this ability by 16% to better account for the fact that it also ignores mitigation, and then Berserker Rage Morph. Fix an issue where this ability did not grant immunity to snares and immobilizes. Okay, so a nerf for Berserker Strike. I think some people probably saw that coming, not a huge surprise to me. Fix an issue with heavy weapons, and then Dizzy Swing got an update. This morph now stuns enemies who are already off balance. Okay, so basically, first cast will give you off balance, second cast will give you a stun because they're already off balance. Dizzy Swing, maybe a little bit of an upgrade. I don't know, I don't use Dizzy Swing a lot anymore. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is that a improvement for Dizzy Swing? Maybe it is. Then Armor Skill Lines, Heavy Armor, Unstoppable Brute, just to fix with a cost reduction. Major Resolve and Yorvold's Guidance, okay. And then yes, Drain Essence from the Vampire skill line did get a nerf. Stun from this ability now occurs when the cast completes rather than when it begins. So you have to channel the entire ability and then you get the stun at the end. Fix an issue where casting this ability could cause it to get stuck and cause various animation issues. So I wonder if that's going to help with the stun lock from Drain Essence. We'll see. Some changes to Werewolf, but these are pretty much just bug fixes. And then more bug fixes in the guild skill lines. Shooting Star, this ability no longer grants ultimate for hitting corpses. That's fine. Concentrated Barrier got an updated description. Bone Shield. The Bone Surge morph has a fix to the synergy. So lastly, just because we're talking about combat, I want to just go over some of the general changes to blocking, because blocking is getting a major overhaul in this patch. So if you remember the changes recently to sprint and how that drain is calculated, they're trying to do something similar here with block. So they updated block to be calculated more efficiently by the server, but they say overall the core block behavior is untouched between the mechanics and the cost of block, so they're not trying to change the cost. But this is really what I'm concerned about. So activating block while animating an ability or an attack will now blend the animation more fluidly instead of completely obfuscating the attack. Obfuscating. So basically, instead of like hiding the attack or getting rid of the animation, apparently they are blending the animation somehow. But they're trying to say that the block canceling, the ability to block cancel is not affected, but it's just a display, a change of display basically. So we'll see about that. They also fixed an issue where you could activate block when you didn't have enough stamina to actually block. So you'll need to have adequate resources based on your own block cost in order to activate and successfully block. Then attacks that reduce your stamina to 0 continue to remove block after you mitigate the effect. So effects that normally would be mitigated via block will no longer cancel their effects. Okay, I'm not quite sure what that means. We're moving on to some other issues. Fix an issue where using single target charge, leap, or teleport would not remove targets from stealth while you had a detection potion active. So that is a bug fix. Fix an issue where many damage over time effects were gaining the effectiveness of stealth bonuses. Okay, so that's gone. So this is interesting. The following thorns or damage return based abilities now have a 7-meter range minimum rather than infinite ranges. Spiked armor, Living Dark, and Spiked Bone Armor. And then last but not least, Major and Minor Heroism. These buffs now only grant ultimate while in combat. This prevents these buffs from keeping you in combat longer than intended. Also, I'm assuming it prevents you from gaining ultimate when you're not supposed to. So with that, I think that covers the major changes. We talked about new item sets, and we talked about class balance changes for all the classes. Overall, I'm pretty psyched about the changes. I think there's a lot of good changes, a lot of good bug fixes. I'm very happy that there's not, 20 pages of class balance changes this year. I got tired of making a one video per class. It's nice to see that changes are coming slower and less frequently, and that there's less changes overall, and that the changes that we are seeing are more like bug fixes. Hopefully that continues. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. As always, if you enjoyed the commentary, let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of these changes, if you think anything was missed. And until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around in the next video.